Welcome to the Catholic Life Coach Podcast. My name is Carla Fitz. I am a certified life coach, wife, and mom of two beautiful little girls. My hope for this podcast is to offer support and empower other Catholic women to live their most authentic life, to share life coaching tools from a Catholic perspective in order to help you live a more fulfilling life filled with peace, joy, and abundance. Let's get started. Hello, my loves. I am so excited for this episode because today I actually hosted a workshop and it was all about living our life without hurry and living it fully alive. And I talked about the 5 steps and the 5 things that I think we need to implement in order to create the life of our dreams, to create a life that we feel called to. And instead of creating a different podcast, I decided to share the workshop here with all of you. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And we're actually going to transition to the episode as a workshop right now. If you are able to do it with a notebook, it would be fun so that you can join the journaling, or you can always come back and answer the questions. In fact, I will probably put all the questions in the show notes so that you guys can answer it with yourselves later. But for now, I hope you enjoy the workshop. Hello, ladies. I am so excited to have you all here to be in this intimate community and in this group that we're going to have today. I have only been running the workshop for only a week, and I'm just so blessed to have you guys here. I think it'll be fun. And yeah, like my hope is just to support you all. But welcome. I'm so happy to do this class with you guys. I love teaching and I love coaching, and doing this kind of stuff just brings light to my world. So I'm excited. Welcome. So the purpose of this was to help you guys kind of get a little more clarity on how to implement this workbook that we have been doing in a way that is simple and is something that is achievable. And then we can put into action as well as Catholic women and as moms. So yeah, we'll just do some things together. Make sure you have something to write with, because I'll ask you some questions to journal and give you some time to journal, and do some things together. For right now, I will get started by introducing myself. You guys know my name is Carla Fitz. I am originally from Venezuela. I don't know if you guys knew that, but I left when I was 16 years old and I became a teacher. I wanted to be a musician, and I did graduate with my degree in music, and then decided to go into teaching. And I love teaching. What I did not love was the busyness of it. I did not love the hurry feeling that I had every time I was getting my girls out of the car to take them to daycare and then having to work from 7:30 until 4 p.m. And it wasn't a fit for what I wanted in my life, for whom I wanted to be in my life as a mother and as a wife and as a person. Like in general, it was just not a good fit. I didn't want to feel that way. And so, long story short, after 5 years of teaching, I decided to leave my 9 to 5 and ended up going into entrepreneurship. And that was always a goal in my life. I just didn't know what I was going to end up doing at the time. This was in 2020. And all I knew was that I wanted to homeschool my girls. I really wanted to be present with them, and I wanted to be able to just support them in the best way that I could and teach them in the best way that I could. And then what I found out was, in that time of being off, I was very unaligned. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know how to help myself. I was eating a ton. I had to lose 100 pounds, and I had been struggling for almost 10 years to lose it. And I was just at a very low point of my life, especially with COVID. It was just one of those times where nothing was happening. I couldn't go outside. I was hating being at home because I felt stuck and I felt like I didn't know where I was headed. I thought I knew, but it turns out that no, once I started going to entrepreneurship, I really didn't know how to make money or what I wanted to do with my life. And it wasn't until the end of 2021, after I had gotten a different job teaching, because I was like, I quit, I don't know how to do this thing, that God led me to life coaching. And He led me to life coaching because of the weight. I needed help losing the weight. And in October of 2021, I joined my very first coach. Her name was Kelly, and she was amazing. And she taught me how to feel my emotions. I realized in that moment that I knew how to diet. I knew how to work out really hard, how to hustle my way towards some results. And I would get some results, but then I would just lose it all and just gain all the way back. And I couldn't sustain it. It was just something that I could not sustain. My favorite type of workout is a walk. I like going for a 20, 30-minute walk in the day and enjoy that slow time, that slow pace of life, which is also why I think I loved that book so much because it spoke so clearly to me. I didn't want to be in a rush. I wanted to enjoy life and to savor every moment. And I wanted to do it in a way that worked for me. And that's what Kelly did for me. Once I learned to manage my mind, how to process and feel my emotions, and to allow myself to feel the emotions, then I was able to reach the goal much faster. What originally took me 10 years ended up taking me 6 months. At 6 months, I had lost 85 pounds. And it freed me from so many thoughts and beliefs that I had about myself. And what I use to create that result for weight loss is also what I've used to make peace with my life, make peace with I'm home, my homeschooling mom, and enjoy every minute of it. To let go of judgment and of people pleasing and let go of like my own doubts for myself. And it's also what I teach my clients, and why I decided to go into life coaching is that I felt so called to help other women create a life that they love from this moment, not in the future or in some distant ideal future, but today in this moment. And that's also why this book called to me so deeply, because it is something that God wants for us, is for us to enjoy our lives in where we are at now and enjoy the journey to where we're headed as well. This is also how I've created a business that allows me to work 2 days a week and be with my girls the rest of the time. How I've enjoyed slowing down so much. And it was a process because I had to rewrite the story in my mind and in the beliefs that I was having about myself and about my life and what was possible for me. And so today I really wanted to dive deep into 5 steps that I think are crucial in order for us to achieve that life that we dream of. And for each one of us, that's going to look different. For me, the goal is to move to Italy someday and live in a very slow paced villa with some cows in the backyard, and homeschool my girls and travel more often and help a ton of beautiful Catholic women create their version of success. My hope is to be able to go to these tiny churches and visit so many saints and teach my girls all about that too, and just enjoy the journey towards where I'm headed. And the first step that I put we needed is freedom. And I think for us in society, we've created this idea that freedom is outside of us. We need this thing to have freedom. We need to gain. Like if you look at commercials, and this is actually in the book, if you look at commercials, it's like, oh, get this bed, you'll sleep so much better and be free to rest. And if you get this phone, you're going to be free to find whatever you want. But freedom is actually truly created within us. It is something that God gave it to us as a birthright. He gave us that freedom to live our life. Jesus died for us in order to give us freedom. The thing that takes our freedom away is our beliefs. It is freedom that we need to find with processing emotions and allowing ourselves to feel rather than to numb down. For me, that was one of the big things that I had to overcome, was the need of not feeling. But the other piece of it is actually finding freedom in where you are at today. Because what creates the pain in the lives that we are living today and in the things that perhaps we don't like about our lives right now is what we believe about our lives in this particular state of our life. Life, no matter what, is always 50-50. And what that means is that it's essentially 50% of the time we are going to feel positive emotions, joy, gladness, gratitude, alignment, just happiness. And the other 50% of the time, we're going to feel sad, frustrated, doubtful, failure, whatever the negative emotion you don't want to feel. Mine is overwhelmed and unaligned. Half the time, we are going to feel that. And one of the things that I love to talk about is that I used to live in a very tiny house prior to have been in this beautiful home that we live in right now and that I'm so thankful for. But prior to moving into this house, I used to believe that I could not be happy in that house because I just didn't have enough space for my children. I had two kids at the time. We had two bedrooms and the bathroom was in the main floor. And it was a small house. It was the cutest small house. And I believe that I couldn't be happy there. I believe that I had to change my circumstance in order to be happy, that I needed to change the house in order to be happy because it just felt so cramped. And once I decided, no, you know what, this house is what we need in this moment, and we are meant to be in this house, I created so much peace within me because I changed my belief on where I was at. No matter where we are at, there's going to be positive emotions associated with this particular circumstance. And there's also going to be positive emotions that are going to be associated with that particular set of circumstances, if that makes sense. Now, the other thing to remember about freedom is that we have been given, and I love to say this, is we've been given authority over our thoughts and beliefs. And for a very long time, I thought that I had no choice but to take the circumstances as they came. Like, I'm miserable because of this circumstance. I'm miserable because I'm overweight. I'm miserable because I am in this small house. I'm miserable because I'm in this job or whatever. I believe that it was dictated by that. But the truth is, our circumstances cannot determine how we feel. What determines what we feel is our beliefs, our thought, what we think is a reality. And this was also proven for me when I decided that I was no longer going to be someone who ate peanut butter. I was so addicted to peanut butter, like I could just eat the peanut butter out of the jug and couldn't get myself to stop until I decided, you know what, from now on, I'm no longer someone that eats peanut butter. And I believed so much that I started embodying that belief that I didn't eat peanut butter. And today, 3 years later, I serve peanut butter almost daily to my children because they love it. And I have tried it and it tastes horrible. Like I cannot get myself to eat peanut butter. It's the worst thing in the world to me now. And it took time, but it is something that we have a choice. We can choose to believe different things. But the other thing that that we will find freedom with is feeling the emotions that are coming with each things that come. It is okay to feel a certain way, especially when we're going through something that is difficult, to not judge our emotions. The second thing towards living our life fully. So the first one is freedom, finding freedom wherever you are, 50-50, feeling your emotions, allowing yourself to be exactly where you are. There's always a purpose to why you are where you are. But the second thing is clarity. And I think for many of us, we are so confused. We don't know what we want or what we want to create or how we want to create it. We just stayed in a state of confusion. And in order for us to create a life that we love, because we all have inside of us some sort of desire of what we want to create in our life, we need to find clarity. And this is actually going to be a great opportunity for us to kind of journal. So I'm going to ask you some questions. And I'm actually going to ask you 3 questions, and you can mix them and answer them together if you want, if that's easier. But where are you going? What do you want to create in your life? And it can be very different things. For me, 3 years ago, I wanted to create a life in which I was not dependent on food. And now I want to create a life in which I have freedom to travel with my girls. What is your thing? What is something that is so deep in your heart? Like you just want to create, you would want this, to have this in your life, whether that is health or being more active, or whether that is creating a business, or whether that is homeschooling your kids, choosing to homeschool your kids. Like, what is it that you would love your life to look like? Once we get that clarity, all we are doing is admitting it to ourselves and admitting it to God that this is something that we really, really, really want. And a practice, I'm going to give you the first practice for clarity, is to question yourself as often as you want, as often as you can. Question yourself. The biggest results we're going to get is if we question our life. Is this where I want to be? Is this what I want to believe? Is this what I want to feel? Does this make me happy? What can I do? What do I want to add to my life? Question yourself. Question what you are doing, what you want to do. And take that admission as a chance to go for it. The next thing is joy. We need to find joy in our journey. What I want to teach you in this particular segment is that it's not better there than it is here. As I mentioned before, life is 50-50. You're going to have a different set of struggles when you get to your goal, and you are going to have a different set of successes and joys when you get to your goal. I remember for me was I thought that once I was thin, I was able to fit in my jeans that I had saved from college, I would be the happiest person alive. And I got to my goal those 6 months later, and I put my jeans on, and I realized I hated those jeans. They did not look good. I fit in them, but they were not my style anymore. And so that vision that I had of my future self, trying those jeans and envisioning me putting those jeans on and enjoying it, got ruined very quickly. All of a sudden, I'm like, these look awful. And just, that's it. That was my goal, was to fit in those jeans. The best part of the goal is actually enjoying the journey. If you think of like when you take a trip, it's so fascinating how beautiful it is in our minds. We create this idea in our lives that it's like, ooh, it's going to be fantastic. Like, I'm going to be going to Italy. And this happened to me a couple of years ago when I went back to Italy, and I took my kids and my husband. We went back to Italy, and it was stunning. And in my head, I had envisioned this perfect trip for our family. It's going to be amazing. We're going to be speaking Italian and eating croissants and pizza and gelato and visiting all these things and going to see St. Francis. And it was flawless. And then we got to Italy, and I could not leave the country. It took us 3 hours to be able to leave, and we barely made it to the airplane. And then we got to Italy, and people were cranky. I was cranky. I didn't understand anything when they were saying. And it was beautiful. Half the time it was beautiful. And then the other half the time I was going to that first Sunday, I remember we were headed to the Duomo in Florence, and it was pouring, and my shoes got soaked because the water was up to my ankles, and things did not go the way I planned them. It was 50-50. 50% of the time I was loving the pizza, the gelato, the walk, the people, the culture, the smells, everything. Half the time I wasn't liking it so much. It happens. There's always going to be negative things happening. But the best part of achieving the goal and getting to that goal is actually whom you become in the process. And that's why it's so important to find joy in the now. Find joy in not being in a hurry. And so here are some questions for your journal now. And it is, what are you thankful for that you have now? And then the second question is, what are you so excited to experience in the future? When we allow ourselves to be joyful and present in the moment, there is not such a rush to get there. We start loving who we are today and embracing whom we are becoming. It's not, and all of a sudden we are living a life of Jesus, of no rush, of no hurry. It's a process. You are becoming that person. And in that life that you had clarity a few minutes ago, what is it that lights you up about that life? And how can we create that same feeling now of no hurry, of joy, of alignment, of peace? The practice I want to give you with this state is actually to practice gratitude. And this is an exercise that you can do. I love doing it at nighttime and just thinking about it or writing about it. What is something that I'm so grateful for? What are three things I'm grateful for today? And what am I so excited to live? That way you find that balance between gratitude and desire. Remember that the journey is the best part. It's the part in which you become the person that you want to be. The step number four is believe. Often we think that we need to prove and we need the proof in order to believe that it's possible. But it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. The way it works is we need to have belief and trust that it's coming before it's coming. I remember when we were getting this house, um, my husband and I would do this thing where we would drive around and look at other houses. And I had this dream of this home, two-story home with lots of triangles. I love triangle shapes and like the pointy triangle shapes. I don't know if that makes sense, but I love that pointy triangle shape in all those houses where they have the windows in the second floor. And I always loved that, especially when it was like the two windows of the bedroom and the garage. Like that was my vision. And I love the color blue and the gray blue. And I just envisioned it like so beautifully. And I always said, I know that there's a house out there with my name on it. And I trusted. I knew ahead of time that that house was out there for me. How we were going to get it, I have no idea. When we were going to get it, I have no idea. But in the meantime, I learned to enjoy my current home where I was at, enjoy the process, and then also make it fun to dream about our home. And before I knew it, which was about a year and a half later, we were moved into this house with three beautiful triangle shapes in the very top of the roof, two-story home, lots of trees. The backyard is stunning. Everything is very secluded. And it was a home that we would have never afforded if God didn't plan for it. And if I would have gotten in my head and thought, oh, how are we going to afford this house? How are we going to get there? It would have taken so much energy away from me rather than just believing ahead of time that it was coming, trusting ahead of time that it was coming. The other part that is so important is to trust that our desires are put in our hearts by God. They are there for a reason. They are there to guide us. They're there to be our GPS to where we're headed. And we need to trust that God has given us that desire for a purpose. And He's going to get us there. As long as we are willing to take action, to take a line and inspire actions. And as long as we are able to dream and trust ahead of time and enjoy the journey. The last piece of this that I wanted to put together for the workshop is balance. The first thing that I think is so important for us to balance is our priorities. We need to learn to prioritize, to get clear on what our priorities truly are and live our lives in accordance to those priorities. And so right now, I would love for you to journal on two things. The first one is your top 5 priorities. Things like your family, your health, your job, your whatever your priorities are. Pick the top 5 priorities. Let's just shrink it a little and say, okay, what are the top 5 priorities of my life? But I also want you to question what are some of the top desires of your life? Like, what is something that you just would love to be able to do? If there was no restriction of money, no restriction of space or time, what is something that you would love to create in your life? Don't ignore your desires because, like I said before, your desires are there as a GPS system, as a route in which you're supposed to start heading towards. So journal on these two questions. What are your top 5 priorities? And what are some of the desires that you feel so called to create in your life? The other piece of balancing our life has to do with our faith and is actually involving God in everything that we do. Making our journey as living disciples of Jesus to remind ourselves in a consistent basis that God is with us in everything that we do, that He is the center of everything that we do. I was talking to my husband yesterday, and this is something that I do when I'm homeschooling. Like all of a sudden I wake up and I do my prayers in the morning and we start homeschooling, we do prayers together. And I was teaching my girls, we were talking about upcoming Sunday with Pentecost and just getting them excited for that gift that God has given us. And I noticed that everything that I do has to do somehow with Him. And yet I need to very on purpose choose to focus on Him being the center of everything that I do. In order for us to be living that life the way Jesus lived His life, which was focused on the Father at all times. And from that place of like getting clear on balancing our priorities, our faith life, our desires, I think it's also so important to balance our mindset, our mind work. There's a few things in between where you are at today and where you want to be. And in between who you are today and who you want to become, all there is a straight line of healing where you have to heal thoughts that you have been raised with and to learn to let go of those beliefs. You have to heal a relationship that you have with yourself or a relationship you have with your partner or your kids. You have to heal your relationship that you have with God, perhaps, or the thoughts that you have about Him. The thoughts that you have on money, the thoughts that you have on business, the thought that you have on motherhood, whatever it is between you and your goal, it's healing. There's a process of healing. And it is so powerful to do it with someone who's guiding you and supporting you in every single step of the way. Whether this is me or another coach or another mentor, it's so important to have someone to talk to that can help you feel and process your emotions, that can help you heal, that can help you find clarity in your thoughts and what it is you believe, and help you to be guided towards becoming that next version of you. Finding support is so important. And it's so important to balance all of these things that are important in our lives. And when you learn to do that and to prioritize those priorities, you start to live your life more in alignment, in less of a hurry, trusting and being in where you are right now, enjoying where you're at right now. And it's such a powerful, freeing thing to create a life where you can just enjoy and be at peace with. As we are in this moment of like getting support, I also want to offer you guys my support as a life coach, as a Catholic life coach. In June, I'm going to be opening a group coaching program specifically for Catholic women to learn to feel their emotions in order to reach their goals, to learn to manage their mind and mix life coaching tools with a Catholic perspective. But before I do that, I actually want to invite you and give you all a gift, which I think would be so fun. And it is to give you all, if you are interested, a one-on-one session with me in order to continue this work, in order to implement this in a daily basis. And if you guys are interested, it would be a completely free one-on-one session with me where you can find some clarity and get coached as we are getting the clarity and create a plan that will help you achieve your goal and to feel more at peace and joyful in your life today. Thank you so much for joining this episode. I hope you had fun. I hope you enjoyed the workshop. And as promised, I am giving you all a free one-on-one session with me. I will put the link in the description so that you can schedule a time that works for you. And I cannot wait to help you get some clarity and start laying out a plan for you to reach your goals with ease, joy, and enjoy the journey. All right, I will see you there. Until next time, God bless.